What's up, everybody? Wolf from Walmart. We're back. We're back, baby, again.
Not a bad fish right there, guys. Oh, no. PETA. Out here catching Folsom bass right now, dude. Woo, he's a little chunker.
What up? What up? What up? 'Tis I again, your host of the Whole Angler Podcast, Dave Erkey. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well. You did not hear from me last week. I'm sorry. I had family and life stuff. I had to do a class and take a test, and I love this podcast and I love fishing, but the first and foremost is my family. So I make sure that all those ends are tied up accordingly before I get to come out here in the garage and talk and have a good time. So sorry about last week, but made up for it this week. We got episode 10. I even got a soda. I'm not a soda drinker, but I like these sodas. So I got myself a little soda to celebrate. I also, of course, got my Element because electrolytes all the time. I'm super hyped on electrolytes. If you guys have any questions, hit me up. I know I've been answering a few questions here and there. Let me know. I can get you hooked up. Just hit me up in the DMs and we'll take care of that from there. Also, I would like to stop and say I am so glad that Matt and Brad are finally back. This episode will air probably 2 days after their return episode. So welcome back to the boys from the catch. Thank you for coming back. I missed you. Not that I missed you because I talk on the text thread, but I missed you guys. I missed your show on Mondays. So I'm glad you guys are back. And other than that, I'm going to drop this cool little ad real quick.
What up, dudes and dudettes? I'm sure you're tired of hearing my voice by now, but you're going to hear it for a little bit longer because this is a shout out to the sponsor of this show, Kayak City. Kayak City has been taking care of me ever since I started getting into a boat and paddling around in the water trying to catch some fish. And when I tell you it is Kayak City, it is literally like a city of kayaks. They have Bonafide, Eddy Line, Feel Free, Hobie, Jackson, Native, NuCanoe, Old Town, Wilderness Systems, and so many used kayaks. I stopped trying to count them a long time ago. If you guys are looking for accessories, they have walls and walls and walls of accessories. They have one wall dedicated specifically to Yak Attack, and it is a massive wall. Kayak City is your #1 Yak Attack dealer here in Northern California. If you want to know where it is, stop by at 7812 Auburn Boulevard, Citrus Heights, CA. Roll through, say what up to James, Troy, Eric, Scott. Tell them Dave says what's up and tell them I sent you there. Thanks for listening.
And if you guys are only listening to this on audio, just to let you know, this is a full-on garage podcast. Like, I started in the garage and I'm going to stay in the garage. So here I am in the garage, and without further ado, I bring to you Mr. John Cruz.
What's up, dude? Yeah.
Yeah, what's up, man? Yeah, I don't have any applause. It's not fancy. You see the background.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I'm in a hotel room. This is I'm at a media event here in South Carolina, and I'm rooming with this is Matt Pangrak. It's all his stuff over there. I've roomed with him a couple times. I will not room with just anybody at these events. I have a check-off list, and he's on that list. He's a good dude. We went to Japan together for a week, and we have good times.
Oh yeah, dude, you guys did the Sunline thing in Japan, right? Is that what
exactly? That's where I got this lid, man.
Dude,
I got it from Japan. I saw a couple of the people from Japan here. They're here at this media event. Yugo and Nagata. They're from Sunline in Japan, and they came over.
Oh, dude. Hey, by the way, bravo. That is a sick brim. That floral brim is legit, dude. That's super sick. Oh, dude,
I saw it and I had to have it.
Dude, I bet I would too. So yeah, man, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show, man. Like, you didn't have to do it. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the invite, and I'm glad it worked out. I know we've had a time scheduling everything, but welcome to my world,
Same, bro.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah. I actually had Frank Scalish on a couple weeks ago, so that's Matt's buddy as well. Unfortunately,
yeah, they were real close. I saw Frank the other day, and he's doing good. I saw him. I don't know if it wasn't at the Classic. Maybe it was at the Classic. I saw him, talk to him for a few minutes. He was there at the Classic with his son. That's where I saw him.
Yeah. So speaking of sons, you're a son let's start at the beginning. This is my segue, by the way, real smooth.
Yeah, I like it.
So where and when were you born, man?
Born and raised in Virginia. I was born in Richmond. My parents were, my dad was an attorney, my mom was a teacher, and we lived in Amelia County, like just probably 45 minutes from Richmond, and that's where that's where I was born and raised. Went to high school in Farmville, Virginia, a little small town, and a little small high school. I have like 50 people in my graduating class,
Oh,
and
dude.
just got a good love for the outdoors growing up in the middle of nowhere, so to speak. Hunting and fishing is what I did when I wasn't playing sports.
Yeah, sports. What sports were you really into?
Golf and baseball were probably my two favorite. I played basketball too, but I didn't love it. It was
Yeah,
fun, but
yeah.
being 5'8", I wasn't exactly I wasn't Muggsy Bogues and dunking it from 5'8". I was more
You're
of
like
a
John Stockton, just a point guard running the
right, just
games.
a white
Yeah.
point guard, dribble it down, dish it off, pretty much.
Yep. Hey, I can relate. I grew up in Southern California. I'm not a tall guy. I was a point guard. It's just what it was. So yeah, man. So growing up you're in Virginia, you're talking about hunting
Yeah.
and fishing and all that kind of stuff. Was
Yep.
that something that was introduced to you by your dad, or was it like your buddies down the street? Like,
So my dad was a big hunter. He was not as much of a fisherman,
mhm.
and he would well, whatever I wanted to do, he would take me. But so we had a little pond in the backyard. I'm talking like 80 yards from our back door. There was a little small pond. It was so small you could cast all the way across it, but it had bass and bluegill in it. And we'd go down there and catch some bluegill, and it was kind of cool. But then, we'd catch little 12-inch bass. And they were okay because they were basically just like catching a bluegill.
Mhm.
And then the first time I hooked what was, looking back on, it was probably like a 3.5 pounder. Dude, that thing jumped and it pulled drag and it was going crazy. And I'm like, oh my God, this thing's gonna pull me in. It's gonna break the line. There's all this stuff going on. And then we finally got it in, and just, how you just get it close to the bank and you grab the line and you just run up the bank and just ski it up the bank. And then it's a big fish, right? And I was like, I want to catch these. These are the ones I want to catch. I don't care about those other ones. I want to catch these ones. And so that one thing led to another. My dad ended up having a 5-acre pond built on the property later, and it's still there, and it still has good fish in it and stuff. So it's just cool to go back home and see that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. You ever just go out there with him just for some memories and just be like, let's just go catch some fish today, Dad. Let's hang out.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. Yeah, he bought this like really nice pontoon boat, but it's made for ponds and it's got just an electric motor on it. He bought that a couple years back, and man, we just run around, and he's like, "You remember when I used to take you around this lake in the paddle boat? We used to have a little paddle boat and we just like doggy paddling around."
Yeah.
And we'd catch some fish. This is, I was a teenager and stuff. And he started to shed a tear. My dad's 81 now, but yeah, he was thinking about that. It was cool.
Dude, that's so awesome, man. So so you're catching fish, you're hooked, you've got a big fish, you're hooked on it, like you're hooked on bass fishing. Where does that take you? Because I mean, growing up where I grew up, I've said this many times, in Southern California, you drop a line off the end of the pier, whatever, you put an anchovy on that, whatever bites, you take it home, you eat it, or the guy will cut it up right there for you.
Yeah.
But like, it wasn't there. We weren't talking about it at school. Like, it wasn't like, dude, I've been doing this fishing thing and blah, blah. So like in Virginia, was it just pretty commonplace to be like, yeah, dude, just catching some fish in my backyard, kicking it? Or was it like,
Yeah, there was a lot of ponds around that, central part of Virginia. And a lot of people would fish, and, there were some rivers, some lakes, stuff like that. But so it was not uncommon. It was very, like a number of my best friends, we all would just run around, and we call it pond hopping. Like, all right, whose pond did you get access to? Oh, you got old Tommy Flippin's pond, man. We got to go over there and catch one of them. And I'd pond hop with my cousin, my first cousin. He was about 15 years older than me, I think it was. He's 15 years older than me. He would take me around. We'd go pond hopping. And then, when I got old enough to drive, we would drive around and go pond hopping. And it was really cool. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. I grew up skateboarding. I didn't grow up fishing. Like fishing is
Mhm.
new to me within the last, 5 or 6 years. And
Mhm.
but we used to hop people's backyards all the time because there'd be a drained pool or something like that. We go skate in the pool. And like I was just thinking about that. Like, man, I you brought back memories for me. Like I remember like yard hopping and pool hopping and trying to go around and you skate a few times if they're not home. If they're home, you run. If there's a dog, you run. You just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's super
we
fun.
may or may not have gone to a few ponds that we didn't have permission to, and
Hey, it's land, it's out there.
dude, I'll tell you a funny quick story is
Yeah.
that, we so that I grew up doing that, right? I just didn't think anything of it, and when I was taking my stepson was young, he's probably like 7 or 8 maybe at the time, and I found this pond near where we lived in Salem, and I thought, "Man, let's just slide over there." So we went over there. I knocked on the house that was like closest to it. I knocked on their door. Nobody came to the door. Like, all right, well, let's just go fish. I got a little kid with me. What's the worst they're gonna say? I'm trying to let him catch some fish. Like I get plenty of time to fish, right?
Mhm.
So I get over there. We make like one cast. Sure enough, truck pulls right up out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, this truck comes. What are you doing out here? I was like, man, I just went to that house asking permission and nobody came to the door. So I was just going to kind of hang out and maybe make a few casts with, my stepson here. You can't fish here. Well, why not? I'm asking you, are you the one that with permission? Like, can we fish here? Well, no. Well, I said, well, why not? The guy was like, because you can't. I'm like, well, that's not a good excuse. He's like, well, you're on my property. I was like, well, I'm asking you if I can fish on your property. It was like a standoff. We just went back and forth and back. He's like, you should leave. I was like, all right, fine, we'll leave. Like, there's no fish in here anyway. Oh yeah, there is. I'm like, oh well, can we fish it? And he's like, stop, you need to leave right now. So we left. And we get in there, we start driving off. My stepson looks over at me. He's like, that guy was mad. I said, yeah, he was mad.
Dude, oh man, I love it. That guy's like hiding some prize catfish or something in there.
Oh
Like
yeah,
just something random.
he
Oh
was
man.
all bent. He was all bent
Oh,
out of shape.
golly, that's awesome, dude. So okay. So you're growing up, you're doing the fishing. Fishing's normal for you, all this kind of stuff. You said your dad was a lawyer. Were they encouraging you, like, hey man, maybe law school, or were they encouraging you college, all that kind of stuff? Or
Yeah, my dad was, like he was just kind of envisioning. He had his own law practice. Him and another guy started it. They built it up to where it was at one time like 40 some lawyers in their firm, and he was thinking that I would go to law school and practice law next to him. That was kind of like what he thought. And then about the time that I got old enough to go to college, I went to college, went to a small school in Virginia, Randolph-Macon, and didn't. About that time, he was going through a bunch of really tough business stuff, and he started telling me. I mean, I knew he would tell me what was going on, and about that time, he was starting to tell me, he's like, "I don't know if I want you to practice law or not." And I said, "Why do you?" He's like, "Man, it is vicious. It's cutthroat. It's not what it was 20 years ago. And I don't know if I would even want you to do this." I was like, all right, well, that's cool. 'Cause I always had an interest in business. And I thought that I would be, own my own business of some sort, restaurant, retail store. I don't know, some sort of business of my own. It's kind of what I thought, real estate, investments, I don't know, something. And when he knew all that, he's like, whatever you do, I want you to do what you are passionate about, whatever that is, just do that. I was like, okay. So about halfway through college, I really, really got eaten up with the fishing bug and fishing tournaments, and started doing well in some of them. And about halfway through going through college, I told my dad, like, we had this sit down meeting. And so for about 45 minutes, I explained to him why I thought that fishing professional bass tournaments was the career for me. And I went through this whole explanation. I had read multiple books. I read Joe Thomas's book from back in the day. I'd met I met a guy that was Greg South, that had fished professionally for a handful of years, and he knew a lot of people, and I asked him a zillion questions. So I had all this information, and I was just unloading it on him.
Yeah. Oh, he's a lawyer. You gotta plead your case, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. Yeah.
That's how he works.
Yeah.
Dude, after that, he just looked around. He said, sounds like you've really done your research on this. Like, well, I figured I didn't want to just kind of slide into it. I figured I'd do it right. He said, if that's what you want to do, I'm 100% behind it. I was like, oh my gosh, I was kind of blown away that he wanted me to do something like that. I just thought it was really cool. And, he's always been supportive of me, whatever I was doing, whether I was playing baseball in high school or, whatever it might've been.
Mhm. Yeah, dude, that's
Cool.
awesome. That's all you can really ask for as a parent or be as a parent is just supportive, like 100% behind your kids, of course you got to let them, make their own choices that you don't
Right.
always
Yeah.
agree with, but
Yeah.
like, dude, that's awesome. I can imagine just sitting there waiting for him while he's looking around. You're just like, just holding your breath, dude. I would. That's awesome. So off you went.
Yep.
To,
Yep.
did you go buy a boat or you already had a boat and you just kind of signed up, or how does that whole system work? I do not know.
So we had a 18-foot bass boat with a 150 at the time.
Mhm.
And that's what I started out with. And we took that boat, and after I graduated college, I got a promotional deal with Ranger and Mercury through Angler's Choice, a boat dealership in Martinsville, Virginia.
Mhm.
They're big. They were at the time were huge Ranger dealership, and I went in there and talked with Nick and Sandy. Sandy is still there they're still the owners of Angler's Choice, and Bill Horn was their former partner. Bill sold them the rest of the business, but anyway, it was basically the three of them, and I met them, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll give you a boat deal." So we sold our 18-foot bass boat, and then we're able to upgrade because of the deal. Essentially, no charge, and so I took off with a Ranger 520 with a 250, and was able to start out with a pro level boat right off the bat, and it was that's kind of where I got to start with, and man, we were able to very first Bassmaster event was on Old Hickory in Tennessee.
Mhm.
And it's not the greatest lake, but the guy Kerry Beaver won that event. I finished, I don't know, about 10th from the bottom. I caught a ton of fish, but like lost some good ones and whatever. Finished terrible. And then the second event that I ever fished was on Lake Martin in Alabama, and that event I got a check. I finished like 30 something. Finished in the money. It was like, huge victory. The third Bassmaster event I ever fished, I came in third place, and I won a Ranger bass boat.
Oh.
And we sold that Ranger bass boat the next day.
Mhm.
And that was the money that I've kind of, was like my nest egg is what I call it. Cause it was like tournament to tournament at that point,
Mhm.
because I had a boat and truck and I was living at home. So I didn't have really any expenses other than travel expenses. And it was really event from event. And then I had all of a sudden I have 20 some $1,000s in my bank account. And I'm like, all right, now I have something to work with. And that's really what kind of floated me and started my career.
Oh, dude, that's such a blessing. Like first off, you jumped the entire board from your first to third event, which is
Yeah.
unheard of for the most part. That's awesome. But
And then I
this
stunk
whole
in my
time,
first one again.
oh yeah, it's all good. Ebbs and flows, right?
Exactly.
So, and you said you're staying at home. It's just you. You said we. So is it like because your family's behind you, that's your we unit, or were you dating anybody at the time, or did you have a partner?
It was just me. Honestly, I stayed on the road way more than I was at home. I was either, practicing for a tournament, fishing a tournament, staying with friends, staying with somebody I'd met. I think it was it may have been the first or second event that I ever fished. No, it was before I even fished the tournament. I met a guy, still a friend of mine now. His name is Jeff Wells. And Jeff, when I was telling him I was going to fish the opens, he said, man, there's a guy that's fishing it. He's a really good fisherman. You need a room with him. I roomed with him for a year, and he quit fishing the invitationals. We're at Bassmaster Invitationals at the time. His name was Kobe Carden, and Kobe's from Alabama. So I met Kobe. I'm still friends with Kobe. I texted him the other day. It's just crazy how you meet these people, and then you end up being friends with them for a long time. And I think I mentioned that fourth tournament, me and Kobe were rooming together at that time. The fourth tournament that I fished that I stunk at was at Pickwick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kobe and I were like two of the younger guys there because we were both in our early 20s. And we met Luke Duncan, who, obviously Luke Duncan still, is doing the podcast. He's been all over the industry ever since. Been friends with Luke ever since. It's just crazy the people that you meet in these early events, and you end up being friends with it and hanging out with for 20 plus years.
Yeah, that's nuts. And then okay, so you, like you said, you're 20, you're young. Is there like an intimidation factor? Is there like you get on the water and you see these legends, or you see these dudes that are just hammers you've been looking at for years, and you're the young guy? Like, is there like intimidation factor there? Like, I feel like I would be intimidated personally.
There was a little bit of that for me at the beginning, mainly because when I first started, there were a ton of the icons of, not legends, I mean icons of bass fishing that were all still fishing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking from like Denny Brower, George Cochran, Rick Clunn, Van Dam, obviously, all of those dudes were still fishing. I mean, your OT Fears. I mean, just all these legends of the game from early on. They were all still fishing the events. So yeah, that was very very interesting to be able to fish against them early on, and then within a few years, I became friends with a lot of those guys. Like, I became friends with Denny Brower and with Van Dam and like those guys became my friends. I mean, Tommy Biffle, eating dinner with Tommy Biffle, I don't know, 6 or 8 different times. Like, just dude, Tommy Biffle and I would have been in trouble if we were together when we were younger. That's all I was. Trouble.
That's awesome. No, so how do those? I'm sorry, I'm just gonna ask a bunch of weird questions.
Yeah,
I do not do research, and I specifically did not do research on you because the whole point of this is get to know you.
Combo, yeah.
So yeah. So how do those conversations come about? I'm sorry, I'm socially awkward, so I walk up and I say whatever comes out, and then they either turn and walk away, or somebody continues the conversation. So like when you're walking up to Tommy Biffle, like you're like, "Hey bud, I don't know you, you don't know me, but take me to dinner," or how does that work? Or did you beat him in a tournament?
A lot of it, when you compete against people, like on a fishing tournament, I'll back up.
Mm-hmm.
I competed against some of those guys in the opens level or invitationals level.
Mm-hmm.
And then I qualified for, at the time, what was the Bassmaster Tour. And then the Bassmaster Tour turned into the Elite Series. But once you made the Bassmaster Tour, I mean, it was Mark Davis, it was Kelly Jordan, it was a lot of the big name. I mean, it was almost all big names that you would know.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it whittled down to that 110 or whatever it was that started the Elite Series, I mean, it was essentially all household names. When you compete against those guys and you beat them a few different times, all of a sudden you're like, okay, now you've earned, like, you got to earn Biffle's respect. Like, you're just not walking up to him and be like, "Hey man, them shorty shorts, those are nice." Like, he'd try to fight you, dude. I mean, pull out his pocket knife and try to stab you in the arm. I'm not kidding. But after you beat him a few times and then you get to know him, go out to dinner, then you can make fun of his shorts. And he's cool with it.
Yeah.
Maybe not super cool, but he's cool with it.
He's cool enough. He didn't stab you in the arm,
He didn't. No. Well, he knew I would, like, we had the respect. I would try to stab him back.
Yeah,
so good. I'll tell you a funny quick story about Tommy Biffle is that for a time I would I would do an imitation of Tommy Biffle. Like, this is Tommy Biffle. I'm fishing from here to the dam. Like, I had this whole routine down. Well, like some of my, like Ish Monroe loved that. He loved me doing Tommy Biffle. And then a couple other people loved Tommy Biffle, my Tommy Biffle imitation. Well, I thought it was funny. I did my cell phone voicemail. I recorded it as Tommy Biffle.
Yes.
So Tommy heard about it. Somebody told him that I did that. He calls me. He's like, hey, I was like, hey, Tommy, what's going on? He goes, I heard you are imitating me on your voicemail. I'm like, oh yeah. Do you want to hear it? He's like, well, yeah. I was like, all right, well, call me back. Call me back. I'll let it go to voicemail. So I hung up. And then I see him call back, and then it goes to voicemail. And then I see he leaves a message. So I click on the message before I call him back. And the only thing he says on there is, you son of a bitch. And then he hung up. Well, I call him back and I'm laughing. And I was like, oh, son of a bitch, huh? Is that all you got? And he's like, oh, yeah, that's pretty funny. You know, he thought it was funny after that. But yeah, it was just a funny little Tommy Biffle story.
Dude, that's awesome. You should have just kept that audio clip and just throw it in every now and then in videos. Just...
Son of a bitch. Yeah, that would have been great.
Like every time there's a lost fish, just throw that up there as an audio clip and just it'd be so good.
Yeah,
dude, so good. So okay, so you're off and running. You're making your way in fishing. And what's it like back home? Is it just every now and then you go home, see the folks? Are you trying to like homestead? Are you like trying to look for a house, all that kind of stuff while you're doing this? Or is it just you're directly focused on the fishing and the fishing only?
I was pretty hardcore focused on the fishing. And, you know, kind of, it took me 3 or 4 years before I had a paying sponsor. So, I mean, you're essentially winning your income through tournament winnings. And
Yeah.
you get help, you know, from, you know, boats and motors, and you're able to upgrade. Or, you know, at that time I was selling my boat and essentially not losing anything. So I was running a boat for nothing during the year. And that was kind of good, but you're still not having a, you know, like an income from any sponsor piece. But so that, you know, during that time you kind of, you know, grinding, so to speak. And when I was younger, I think it was 22 maybe. And I've been fishing, doing full-time thing for about a year or so. And one of my good fishing buddies who lived in Roanoke, I would go stop and stay with him and hang out. Well, at the time, his girlfriend was working with a woman, and he's like, dude, you need to meet Sonia. And so we got introduced. We basically dated on and off for about a year or so before we kind of just really settled in. And once we settled in, we've been together ever since, and we're getting ready to celebrate our 20th wedding anniversary.
Dude, congratulations. Holy
Yeah,
cow.
thank you.
That's awesome. So you got introduced to this girl. Now you told her, you're like, hey, I'm on the road. I'm gone a lot. This is my career. How does that work for a relationship? Is it like a lot of phone time and just, you know, when you guys are together, you turn off your phones, or how does that work?
You have to have a twofold. I'll tell you one quick story before we get into that. The routine is that when about 2 years into dating, it was about the time where, no, it wasn't even a year into dating. And I was at an FLW tournament, and I was rooming with a friend of mine, and right next to us was David Walker. And at the time, David Walker had divorced his first wife, and then had met Missy, his current wife, and they're still together. They've been together for 20 years or whatever it is now. And at the time, they were, you know, like newlyweds. And I looked at David and I said, David, you know, we're just drinking a beer together after practice day. And I said, man, can I ask you a personal question? David's like, sure, whatever. I don't care. I said, man, what didn't work in your first marriage and did work and it is working in this one? I said, because I'm dating somebody And I want to like, how do you know if it's going to work or not? He's like, he's very matter of fact. He looks at me and he goes, "Oh, that's simple, John. Either they're for you or they're against you."
Oh,
He said, "That's number one." He said, "Number two," he said, "when you come home, you need to be focused on her." He said, "You can't come home and go play poker with your buddies and then play golf and then go deer hunting and then go fishing and then maybe go out on a date." He said, "Not gonna work." He said, "So when you're home, you're home. And when you're gone, you're working."
hmm
He said, "That's the only way it's going to work." He said, "But you need to figure out if she's for you or against you." He said, "Because if she's against you, it's not, she's got to be, she's going to be 100% for you. If she's 80% for you to do well in whatever you're doing, that's not going to work." And I was like, it's like some of the most prophetic relationship advice I've ever heard in my life. I'm like,
yeah,
okay. And I mean, I remember that whole conversation like verbatim from that night in Louisiana, where I think we were in Morgan City at a hotel, just chilling, hanging out next to each other. But I mean, so that's, I mean, definitely she's always been supportive and all that. And when I go home, I'm, you know, family first, period. That's
yeah,
nothing else.
yeah, dude. So I love that. I love that advice. Like it makes it sound so. Like, sorry, I'm married. I'm on my second marriage because I'm no winner by any means, but I lucked out on this one, and like that makes so much sense because it's very difficult because I do construction, so we travel all the time. So, and I talked to a partner of mine when, what everything was going down. And I was like, hey man, like, how is this going to work? Like, am I just going to be on the road for the rest of my life? And they're like, no, man, you got to find somebody that's strong and that's going to be your backbone when your back's broken. And I said, that makes sense because you need a partner. Like you need somebody who's, like you said, in your corner for you. I never heard it put that way, but I love that. I think that's so solid. So you talk to her, you're like, hey, are you for me or against me? Or did you just kind of play that by,
You gotta figure that out, man. That's
yeah,
just you pick up on comments, you pick up on things, that you pick up on the tone of their voice when you tell them you had a good event versus you didn't have a good, like, oh, how was your, how'd your day go? This is before, internet was just starting out. It's hard to even see standings or whatever. So, where'd you know? I'm in, 30th place. Like, okay, that's pretty good, right? Do you like that? Is that, like, yeah, I lost a big one. It could have helped. Oh, really? Crap. What, like, how big was it? Like you can pick up from conversation pretty easily if you're, awake, if they're for you or against you. And it was obvious that she was for me. And she had admitted that she's like, I was behind you, but I didn't know. She's like, I didn't know to what extent that I would be behind you until she came to a tournament, like one of the FLW. It was, at the time, it was the FLW tour event, and I made the top 10. It was at Lake Murray, and I made the top 10. Man, Lake Murray from where we live is only 4 hours. She came down to the weigh-in and watched the. So after the third day, they came down. They got there that night, and then the fourth day she came, and then they stayed that night. Well, after that night, she told me, she goes, I've always been, like, supportive of what you do. She's like, but seeing you basically almost win this tournament, she's like, I wanted you to win it so bad. I didn't understand until I actually got to come to the event and see for myself the emotion that I would have. And I did. She's like, I just didn't know. And now I do.
dude, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, she's solid. That's you're
Yeah.
like, all right, lock in. So were you like ring shopping the day after, or how did that work?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but you guys did end up getting married. So how did
Mhm.
how did that all go down? Were you like, fishing's good, just you're gonna be on my boat now with this
Yeah,
ring
we
forever?
dated, I can't remember exactly how many years we dated. We dated a few years before I proposed, and I proposed in, it was like the fall, early fall, and then we got married in the on May 28th was when
Oh,
we got married.
Dude, yeah, it's right around the corner, bro. 20 years, dude. That's
That's right.
so awesome. So, going from there, I say a lot. I'm sorry. I tend to shoot from the hip a lot. Going from there, you guys planned the wedding date, all this kind of stuff. Did you already have a location, like a house, or was it like, because I'm just curious what it's like off the water for you, because like you said, like you're out there fishing, you're doing that, and I know that that's
Mhm.
a toll on the relationship, but you found yourself a good one. So what's life like outside of that? Are you
We
house hunting? Are you doing the normal everyday thing, or how did that work?
so we were she was a property manager at the time.
Oh, okay.
And so she had basically a free apartment at the community that she was managing. So I
Mhm.
stayed there a lot. When I was traveling through town, I would stay there a lot. And then when we got engaged, um, we started house shopping, and then ended up buying, a smaller house, a nice starter home there in Salem. And um, that was awesome for us. We stayed there a few years and then ended up selling it. I think it was in 2008 when the market was up. So we
Mhm.
sold when it was up, and then we also bought when it was up. but
Yeah.
but it was it was fine. It worked out fine.
Yeah. So you stayed out that way. You didn't plan like your living situation over like your tournament schedules and all that kind of stuff. Like you're like, I want to stay here. Like I don't want to go far. Like
I
this
mean,
is home base.
I grew up in Farmville, which is about 2 hours from where she was.
Yeah.
And so I love the area. My mom actually is from Roanoke, which Roanoke and Salem are right together.
Mhm.
We're from that area. My mom was from that area. I love that area. It's actually pretty much 2 hours closer to about 90% of the places we go to, on tour.
Yeah.
I live a mile and a half off of Interstate 81, so I can just jump on 81, go north, south, whichever direction I need to go, and it works fine.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So now you got the house, you're married, everything's going good. All right, did you plan kids? Did you plan
Yeah,
for kids? Or did
yeah.
you?
Oh, yeah. I
Okay.
definitely wanted to have kids.
Yeah.
So my wife and I have two girls, and she has a son from a previous marriage who, when we met, he was 2 years old. So I've essentially known him since he was two, and I mean now he just turned 26, and um, I mean like he texts me during the practice, how's it going? He's one of those kids he's not a kid anymore, but he's one of those people, I should say, that is just annoyingly good at everything they do. I mean, from playing ping pong when he was a little kid to, I mean, he was a state champion quarterback twice in high school. Went to college playing football. Now he's selling real estate and just doing really well with it. And so, I mean, from the time he was a kid, I would take him fishing, and I'm like, all right, yeah, you see that tree over there? He's like, yeah. I said, throw, all right, throw that wacky worm, just to the left of it. Dude, he would put it like in a hat right where I told him to throw it. He just crazy, coordinated, and can do that kind of stuff. And it's a lot of fun to watch him. Just, he's a great hunter, a great fisherman, and unbelievable human being too.
Dude, I love that. That's so awesome. Just born talented. Just
Oh, annoying. It's annoying. Yes.
You don't play cards with him. You don't play cards with him or one-on-one anymore, right? You can kind of
Yeah.
did
I
you
mean,
quit while you were ahead? Like that's what I'm trying to do as a
anything
dad.
that requires hand-eye coordination, do not do that against him. That's all I can say.
Got it. Yeah. I'm trying to quit while I'm ahead as a father. Like my son's 10 and we just had a foot race the other day and I still beat him. And I was like, I was stoked on it. And he was like, yeah. And he, we went to bed that night and he went and
Yeah.
laid in his bed and I went and got ice packs and put him on my knees. And I was like, all right. I was like, okay, I'm no spring chicken, man. I'm 43
Yeah,
years old.
I used to race Noah, and then it was about the time he was 12 that he started passing me. And I'm like, but at that time, I don't think I could now. At that time, I was maybe like a high 4 something 40, maybe like I could break 5 seconds, but it was not by much.
Mhm.
He ended up with the ability to run a 4.40, which is like, that's world class
That's
speed.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's professional
So
athlete
I
speed.
don't feel too bad about losing the foot race to him, but you
Yeah.
can't explain like the ping pong, and all that kind of stuff. I can still beat him in golf, but not by much anymore.
There you go. Well, I mean, hey, yeah, as long as you stay on top somewhere, you know what I'm saying? You got that dad flex, you know, you got to be like, all right, dude.
Just a touch. Yeah, just a touch of one.
I still give him my tool belt for an odd dad flex. I'll just give my 10-year-old. I'm like, here, carry this, and it like drops to the ground. He's like, ugh. And I'm
Right.
like,
Yeah.
oh, you can't get that. And I pick it up with one hand. Yeah, this is like one of those. You got to do the dad flex while you can. I want him to think I'm superhuman when he's 20, so he doesn't flex on me. You know.
That's it. 100%.
So, yeah, man. So, and you said you have 2 daughters. You're running a professional bass fishing career right now. Like, you are gone a lot. So how does that work for the home life? Are you dad 100% the moment you get home, or are you on call dad 24/7? How does that work? How do you separate the business with the family?
And family's always first. And I mean, like today, I texted my older daughter. She's in Orlando on a school trip, and she's the one that's a senior in high school. So she was texting me. I was texting her, asking her how it was going, and she was texting me back, talking about she'd met different people and this and that and the other. So it was all good. It was all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then my younger one's 13. She's really into gymnastics. She's very very good with it, and she's very disciplined, and also very hard-headed, which is what you have to be a gymnast, to be stubborn about things until you get things.
Mhm.
But it's fun. I just, we still share the same iCloud with her, so she takes all of her gymnastics videos pretty much every practice, and so I get to watch those whenever they pop up on my phone. It's pretty cool.
That is awesome. Yeah. I'm pretty sure she probably got that from you, because I mean, you have to be hard-headed as an angler as well. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day about the relationship of like interest, like skateboarding, fishing, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, literally, there's very few things in life where your failure rate so far outdoes your success rate that you
Mhm.
have to be focused 100%. Like, you have to be so deep in that passion that you're hard-headed. Everybody will say last cast 10 times. That's just what it is, because
That's right.
500 casts for one fish. Nobody catches a fish every cast. So there's a ton of failures before you get that success, and
Mhm.
so I'm guessing she probably got a little bit of that from you, seeing as that's your career choice as well.
A little bit. A lot of gymnasts have to have like fear that they can harness.
Got
And with her early on in her gymnastics, her fear would really inhibit her big time. And she has gotten to be very tough, and she's gotten to be to where she can progress into opening up and not being scared of trying new things. And it's been impressive to watch her mature and become like that. She's got like this weird no filter thing, to where if like one of her friends says something that she doesn't like, or does something she doesn't like, or like, oh, she did something that she didn't like, she just tells them, hey, don't do that for Emmy. What? Don't do that. She doesn't like it when you touch her hair. Oh. And like sometimes some of her friends don't like, she's not like mean about it. It's
Yeah.
very matter of the fact about it, that, hey, that's the way it is. Okay. Cool. As long as you know that, now you're being a dick if you do it, basically.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh my God. My wife is like, oh my God, I wish I had that trait when I was younger. I wish I had it.
She's just confident and blunt, and this is what it is, dude. Like, that's
Yeah. She's not mean about it. She just says it straight up. Yeah.
yeah, that's so
That's
cool,
what it
man.
is.
So did you encourage that growing up, or that's how she was born? Like,
She was
is
the
it-
youngest.
oh,
She had to speak up.
yep. Got to eat at the table too, right? Yeah.
That's right. I think that's 100% what it's attributed to. My wife asked me the same thing. I'm so, she's the youngest. If she doesn't speak up, she's gonna not have anything to say, So she is kind of what she learned to do it.
Dude, I love that, man. It sounds like you raised a class of winners right there, dude. All your kids are just killing it right now, huh?
We got lucky. We try hard.
Yeah.
I tell my wife, that's the thing I kept telling her. When the kids would do stuff, and like she would, be all stressed about it. I'm like, look, parents don't need to be perfect. they need to be persistent. Like there's a huge difference between perfection and persistence. No parent is perfect and will ever be.
No.
But the best parents are the ones that are persistent in trying.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely. So can you not enlighten us? Can you go into length on that a little bit? Like a good example of your persistence versus perfection?
Yeah, I just sometimes my wife would feel like that she said the wrong thing, and she didn't say the wrong thing. She may have said something that was on because it would like upset. And I'll do. Here's one example. Is that like sometimes our middle child would do something and I would say something because I'm like the good cop.
Oh yeah.
And and so like I let them get away with everything. But I would say something a little bit sternly, or it's especially effective on our younger one, our youngest. I would say something a little bit sternly and then just walk away. And they would go bawling, crying to my wife. And she would come to me and she's like, I can't believe you said that in that manner to Ivy. I would say, well, I got my point across, didn't I? She's like, yeah, I think so. She's like, but you really upset her. I'm like, I got my point across.
She'll remember.
Exactly. I was like, I didn't want to make her cry, but she remembered. She's going to remember what I said. And you don't have to like yell and scream or nothing. You just have to just be a little stern because I'm not like that with them. Like I let them kind of get away with whatever. But if I'm ever stern with them, here's an example with Noah when he was probably a teenager, probably 12 or so. He did something and it really irked me. I really did not like it. And all I did is I went up to his bedroom, went in his doorway, and I was like, Noah, did you do such and such? He said, yeah. And I looked right at him and I said, Noah, that's really disappointing. And I walked off. And I didn't I didn't really think anything of it. And then my wife came to him. She's like, Noah is up there bawling his eyes out. I'm like, what? He's like a teenager. What are you talking about? She's like, whatever you said to him. And I went, oh, you know what I said to him? She's like, what? I said, all I said was, did you do that? And he said, yes. And I said, no, I'm very disappointed. And I walked off. And she went, oh my God, is that really what you said? I said, yeah. She's like, you crushed him. Like, wow.
I love it because teenagers are so lost in trying to find themselves, but the one thing that will always remain the same, especially with a son and a dad, or a son and a father figure, period, is acceptance. Acceptance and appreciation. You're like, I just want to be noticed, I want to be seen, and I want to be, appreciated. Or I want to feel like I'm good. So when you say something like, dude, that's disappointing, that just guts somebody, especially a young man, dude. That's so good.
I didn't even realize it, but it was effective. We didn't even have to, we never had to discipline him at all. He was one of the most responsible, greatest kids you could ever ask for. And,
so he's coordinated in all aspects.
Yeah. He got it. He got life in general. Yeah.
That's good, man. So you're doing your career, dadding, all this kind of stuff, and family first always. But you decided that you were going to start a bait company. Like you started your own company. So basically, this initial thought that you had as a young man of like, oh, I figure I'll own a restaurant or a retail store someday. You decided, why not stay in the passion? Or did you feel like there was something missing in fishing that you found you could fill? Or how did that work?
So early on in my career, and part of that whole dissertation that I gave to my dad in college was I felt like that the pro angler career would open a door into something else within the fishing industry. And I didn't know what that would be. Early on, I thought it was going to be a TV show like you saw with Hank Parker or Jimmy Houston or something like that. I thought that would be, because that was the most visible, right? So I thought that's kind of what it might lead to. And then a few, like within 2 years into it, I said, nah, TV show's not the deal to me. Because if you're not out there filming TV shows, you're not making money. Like that's not how a lot of other businesses operate. And I don't want to start one like that. It's kind of what I thought. And after being in the industry a little bit, going to a bunch of ICAST shows, working with multiple different sponsors, Pradcos and different companies, I started working with Spro on designing crankbaits. And after I came out with about the second or third crankbait that we had, prototyped, gotten right, then I helped them market it and educate people on how to use it. I said, man, this is really cool. I want to do this in soft plastics. And so I said, man, I want to start my own this. I was like, I think this is it. I started out with the business plan that involved 2 other partners. One of them got cold feet. The other one had another offer. So then it came down. I was like, all right, I'll just do it myself, I guess.
Mhm.
And ended up doing it myself. And kind of the rest is history 13 years later.
Well, I mean, yeah, the rest is history. But I mean, you're grassroots in it. It's just you. Did you show up to like the tournaments and the Bassmasters and stuff? Like, here's my baits. Like, there's got to be a level of vulnerability there where you're like, I put all my heart and soul into this because I believe in this so bad. Please take a look at my product. Like, how did that work?
So right off the bat, I had been a pro angler for 10 plus years. I'd met a lot of people within the industry.
Mhm.
And before we even made missile baits public, like, made an announcement that, hey, we're selling fishing lures kind of thing, we had 5 dealers that agreed to carry our full product line. One of those was Tackle Warehouse. One of those was Green Top Sporting Goods in Virginia, like the most iconic Virginia tackle shop, probably. Mark's Outdoor Sports in Birmingham, which is one of the most iconic tackle shops in the whole Southeast. Susquehanna Fishing Tackle, one of the most iconic fishing tackle places in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave's Tournament Tackle in North Carolina. We were partnering with Dave at the first 2 shows in January because we were going to display the baits and they were going to sell them.
Mm-hmm.
So like they had no skin in the game. So I'd known Dave for a long time, Dave Farrington. Dave was like, yeah, sure, we'll do this. So we had 5 dealerships that agreed to carry our entire product line from day one. And we made this announcement, and that was a big deal. I mean, that gave us a good shot in the arm. So, I would call other dealers and tell them, oh, they said, well, who's carrying it? I said, with Tackle Warehouse, Green Top, Marks. And I wouldn't even finish the list. Like, okay, yep, we'll take it. All right, well, who's carrying your product? Okay, Susquehanna Fishing Tackle, Green Top. Okay, yep, we'll take some. So I didn't realize how much clout that those places had with other tackle shops. And so that really helped us out in the beginning. And then in the second month in February of us being in existence, we were displaying at the Bassmaster Classic.
Mm-hmm.
And we had this guy come by and he said, man, I'm a rep for this distribution company. We sell to different places. I would like to pitch these baits to Dick's Sporting Goods. We have a meeting with them next month, whatever. So I was fishing the Classic. So after the Classic, I called the guy like that Monday and talked to him. His name is Chris Graham. Still works for Folsom. At the time, he was working for Maury Sporting Goods. They went and talked to Dick's Sporting Goods the next month. Well, that next month was the same month that we had an Elite Series event on Lake Okeechobee. It just so happens their meeting was on a Friday. On the Thursday, the first day of that Elite Series event, Ish Monroe catches 35 pounds on a D-bomb and tells the world that he caught them all on a D-bomb. So Chris and his partner go into the Dick's Sporting Goods meeting, set the missile baits on the counter, and the Dick's buyers look at it and go, oh yeah, Ish Monroe, John Cruz. Yeah, Ish just caught a giant bag yesterday. And they looked at each other like, oh my God, I thought this was going to be a sell. And they're like, they knew all about it.
Mm-hmm.
And after Ish won the tournament, they left the meeting saying they'd put missile baits in 50 stores. The next week they called back and said, no, we want to put it in 100 stores. 2 weeks later, they called back and said, we want to put it in 200 stores. So we had this massive PO 4 months into being in business from this distribution company that was selling to Dick's Sporting Goods, and it was pretty wild how that all just kind of like rapid fire happened.
You couldn't really ask for anything more perfect. I'm like a full believer in divine intervention. Like, we don't have to go down that rabbit hole if you don't want to. I'm totally for it. There's only one thing I don't do on the show. I don't do the racism shit, but everything
Yeah.
else you can swear. We can talk religion. We can talk
Yeah.
everything else. And for me, I'm a firm believer that there's a divine intervention. You were meant to do something like this, because holy cow, for all that to just land perfectly. Like,
There's no way all that stuff lines up,
no.
at the right place, right time. If you don't believe in a higher being, you're not believing in anything.
Absolutely. So you are now in Dick's. You're now moving this company. Like, are you thinking, I'm going to still be a pro, I'm going to still do my professional bass fishing, and this company's going to be its side thing, and I'm going to go home and do family? Like, that's a lot of plates to be spinning at that point. So how does that work for you?
From day one, when I started Missile, I never wanted it to be, I wanted it to be its own entity. And so I started with 2 full-time employees. From the time we said go, we had an office manager, and we had basically the content director. Shannon was the one that helped with all the content, website, social media, all that. He did all that. And then Julie was our office manager for the first 10 years. And she was, it has a bank background. So she's very organized, very, very detail oriented. So we had, great shipping, but then Shannon was a creative one. So, he and I really worked together on a lot of stuff. It was a lot of fun, and it was a good team to start with.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So, and you started out with,
I think Pangrak's trying to get in the room. Excuse me.
Yeah, let's get him in here. I don't edit. I keep it all 100, so we can just
on a podcast.
he knows nothing about those, I swear.
He gave me the O face.
Well, you can tell him I said hi.
Yeah.
But so let's just talk a little bit of fishing. What was your original line? You just started with the D-bomb, the destroyer.
Yeah, so we had 5 baits that we originally started with. The D-bomb was the home run right out of the gate. Mainly thanks to fish.
Yeah.
But then we had the tomahawk, which is a big ribbon-tail type worm. Mm-hmm. We had the drop craw, which is a little tiny craw that's been discontinued. So is the tomahawk. Mm-hmm. But the drop craw is really nasty on bedding smallmouth and other applications. But
rivers.
We had a twin turbo, little twin tail bait, and then we had a missile craw, which is like not harder, but like a solid version of a flipping tube that was very effective. I mean, I almost won Lake Falcon using that thing, and had other top 5 finishes using it.
Yeah. Now, side question real quick. You basically came in my backyard and beat the pants off of everybody one year over here at the California Delta. Were you using missile baits at that time? Were you throwing D-bombs?
That was before missile baits.
Oh, dang.
Yep.
I was just curious. Like I said, I'm not doing homework because I want to know genuinely. Like,
I caught those fish on a Reactions Innovations beaver and a BB cricket. Those are the 2 baits I was flipping over there. I caught one keeper on a Little John crankbait. And that one keeper that I caught on the first day was the difference, because I only won by 1 ounce.
Well, Little John to save the day again, dude. That's awesome. So you got the business up and running. You got a full product line. You're moving, you're shaking, everything's good. So have you ever thought maybe it's time to take a step back and relax and let the businesses do the business, and just maybe take a season off of fishing and just do some family stuff? Or is it still just like you got a good solid unit at home and you guys are just cruising?
Once you qualify for the Elite Series, you can't step away or you lose your slot. So it's like a life commitment. As long as until you're like, okay, I'm really done, then you have to just keep rolling. Yeah. So it's a balance that you have to find. I mean, there's 9 events plus the classic. It's 10 weeks.
Oh.
But then there's all the other obligations, you know, the media events and things like this that we're doing here that keep you on the road for a significant portion of the year.
Yeah. So let's get to that. What media event are you at right now?
So we're at the OBT, the Outdoor Brands team. They're a rep group, and they represent Sunline and Missile, Spro, Gamakatsu, AFCO, Denali. Who am I leaving out? That it? Spro. I think I said Spro. Yeah. Oh yeah, Beatdown Outdoors. Yep.
Yeah,
So they do all those. Those are all their brands that they represent for a pretty significant part of the country. It's mostly from like the Midwest East, and I've worked with most all of the reps, including Mike, the guy that runs it. All those guys for close to 20 years, probably 50, at least 16 years, I think it is technically.
Dude, your life is amazing. Like you're just constantly moving. I did see something recently. You were doing something for autism awareness. Do you want to talk about that at all? Like I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, probably 15 years ago, a friend of mine named Eli Delaney was his son is autistic. He's a big fisherman up in the Northeast. Got to know him, and he does some advocacy up in that part of the country. And he wanted to try to, raise some awareness through other fishermen, through other tournament trails. And he asked me if I would help do that on the Elite Series. He was friends with Ike and Ellie. He knew Van Dam. And so, all of us just basically kind of helped support it. And then one thing led to another, and then it ended up kind of falling in my court, and I really enjoy it. So for the last 15 years, I've been just talking quite a bit about autism awareness. Every April is Autism Awareness Month, and we typically are fishing in April, and it just gives us a good platform. And I'd say for the last 10 years or so, Bassmaster has really gotten behind it. So whatever campaign we do each April, they'll just jump in behind and help push it to make it work.
So I don't know if you can hear that. My 2-year-old's outside yelling, "Dad!" I'm sorry. So yeah, I was just curious because I have a handful of friends who their children, there's autism is running rampant. I don't know if it's on the rise, or I don't know. I'm no scientist, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be, but what I know is it's personally affected me and a lot of people that I love and care about. So the fact that you're out there doing that, my hat's off to you, dude. That's super awesome.
So talking about it for quite a while, I read as much as I can about it, listen to whatever I can about it. There's a lot of tough questions that the media and other organizations don't want to answer.
Yeah.
And because the answers are kind of out there.
Are they?
But they're not really being looked at. They're like, oh, look, this amazing study found this. Oh, where's a rug? Let's push it under there. They really don't want to get at the root causes of what's going on. And there's they try to say that there's conflicting science. There really is not. But that you can't get a straight answer from really any scientific organization that will do anything definitive on the rate increase for why it's increasing. The good thing about what is going on is that the more people are talking about it, the more people are accepting of it, and the more amount of money that is able to go to local charities. Local charities is where all of the work is done. Autism Speaks is all the other national organizations are great and fine and dandy for raising awareness and some research, I would say, but the work where people get treatment, people get facilities they can go during the day, all that stuff is done at the local level. So any amount of donation, I always encourage people to look in their backyard. That's where the money needs to go.
It really does.
It's where they need it. Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, I could sit here and talk about a schedule that they gave us when we had our daughter, and I'm looking at the schedule, and my son's only 10 years old, and the schedule is quite different. And I'm like, this is weird. And then when you start looking at all the additives, you're like, that's really odd. Yeah, it's
Yep. Yep.
I don't want to drag you because you have a career and you are a face in the anglers
I mean,
around the world. So I'm not going to drag you down that hole, but I'm in that hole. So I
right.
understand.
I mean, you get there's a lot of data that you can look at that is not hearsay.
Yes.
Let's just say that. You know, the rate of autism in the Amish community that has none of the, let's say, additives when kids are young, it's not the same as the general population. Why is that? Somebody explain. That's within the United States. I'm not talking about what's happening in Uganda or, you know, where some other country that doesn't have all the additives. Let's say, I don't know. It seems like it's a pretty obvious situation, but nobody wants to talk about it except for RFK Jr. is more than happy to talk about it now.
Yep.
Which is nice. I mean, I don't agree with 100% of any politician,
no,
including him.
Yeah.
He is, but if he talks about something scientific, he typically has some information and like a plethora of studies that he will point to as like, he's not making this up. This is why. So I give him a little bit of a leeway on stuff I don't agree with.
Yeah, well, hey, you know, ain't no if there was a non-crooked politician, or if there was a non-double-sided politician, then politics wouldn't be what it is now. You know what I'm saying? It's just, that's not the way it is. So I never agree with anybody fully, but I can tell you there's a lot of science in his we'll call it his profession. He has a lot of science to back him up. So love that guy. Moving on though, you are now sitting on the cusp of, you know, about to be 20 years married. You own your own company. You have a beautiful family. Everybody's thriving. Like what are you looking at next? Like what's the next hill? Because I saw something about you. Are you are you the head of an anglers union? How does that work? I'm kind of interested.
It's a kind of it's a angler board of professionals is what we're called. It's basically helping organize the Elite Series field and being able to have direct communications with Bassmaster. Long story short, over the last couple of years, communication had really broken down between the anglers and Bassmaster. And what was happening is that Bassmaster would talk to this angler and then this angler and then this angler and this angler. And what's happening is that the communication was very fractured. So you were getting this person's opinion, what's best for them, and then this person's opinion, what's best for them. It was not about the collective group. So Bassmaster made a bunch of changes last off season, and they did not sit well in general with a lot of the anglers. So we were able to kind of come together. They elected me to be the president of the group, and then we elected 5 reps. And so we work with the reps pretty regularly, and to be able to kind of stay on the same page, communicate with Bass, once every month or so, and try to like get ahead of any potential issues in the future.
Oh, that's awesome. So you guys are literally running like protection. Like you guys are literally the angler protection. Like you're going to take everybody's opinion into account.
We try to, yeah, 100%. And if somebody is unjustly penalized or something like that, I end up on the phone with this person and that person, and one of the reps will be involved, and we try to make sure that everything's done properly, to make sure nobody's done wrong, so to speak.
So seeing as you're the president, I feel like this is yet another one of those doors that you were telling your dad about. Like, hey, like, yeah, I'm going to start a pro career, but it could open the door for so many things. This is like another door
on this
for you.
Sucks, though. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
Hey, dude, sometimes like doing the right thing is not always the best paycheck.
Right. If you just do things for the right reasons, typically it'll all work out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna let you go because I know you gotta get to bed. It's late where you're at. I
Oh,
do
I got
have.
a meeting after this. I gotta go. I gotta.
Oh my gosh. All right.
It's
Well,
all
I'll make
good.
this really quick thing because I just have like a final questions thing. It's
Yeah.
just there's a few of them and they're a little bit on the deeper side of things.
Okay.
But it's just it is what it is. My son, my 10-year-old son, actually added questions because he asked me a question. I was like, that's a solid question. I never thought of this. He's all,
I like it.
who's your favorite fishing angler and why?
Um, that's a
How he worded it.
That's a tough one for me because I admire a ton of different anglers. I think that the one angler I was probably in the most awe of, I would say early on it was Kevin Van Dam, but then once I started fishing against all of them, I was probably in awe of Aaron Martens more than any other angler. Like the stuff that he figured out, the way he able to kind of just zone in and catch fish, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, dude, that guy was next level. Unfortunately, he passed away a couple years ago, like right after I started
Yep.
fishing. So I didn't really get to get a whole lot of information on him. So now all the Aaron Martins information I get is
Yeah.
all stories from everybody who knew him, and it's like, oh, this is awesome.
My friend
Okay.
that
Go ahead.
here's a quick small world. My friend that introduced me to my wife,
Mhm.
he sold Aaron Martin's mom their first bass boat in California.
Really?
Had to drive them to the ramp and back it down for them because they didn't know how to back the boat down.
That's awesome, though. That's
Yep.
so cool.
Yep. Small
Damn.
world.
Yeah. All right. So spend a day with anyone. Who is it and why? And I'm not saying spend a day fishing. Like
Oh,
pick anybody you'd like to spend a day with. Period.
There's a bunch of different people I think would be highly entertaining.
Mhm.
So I would probably have to go with like a Theo Vaughn. I mean, you can't tell me like that it would not be fun from like sun up to sundown. Like you'd probably be in tears all day.
Would you at least teach him how to hold the reel the right way so it's right side up?
No, absolutely not.
Just let
I
him
want
run
to
it.
look like a dumbass. Yeah. No
That's
way.
awesome.
No way.
All right, man. So what's your biggest fear these days?
Biggest fear? I mean, when you have a family and you love them, if something bad happening to them, that's without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Every time I see, every time I make a wish, that's all I wish for. Every time.
I love it. Broke. You ever been broke because of fishing? Like, oh, I need to get a cheeseburger after this, but I got this bag of worms and now I can't afford a cheeseburger.
When I won that tournament in California, my bank account was pretty low.
Oof.
Like really low.
Oh,
Not a lot of people know that.
Dude, that's awesome. Another one of those interventions, dude. I mean, it's a long strike. I'm sorry. We are way far away from everybody. So
It was, I mean, it was wild.
hey, that fishery is fickle and you crushed it. So props to you. All right. What's your biggest struggle these days, dude?
Managing everything and like I always feel like that if I did the angler thing 100% or if I did the missile thing 100%, that I could do better in either one. But I just don't think that's going to happen. I think that they have to complement each other, and I have to just continue to manage, the time because I haven't made the classic the last couple of years, and that's really eating at me. So I want to make sure that I have a, finish out strong in the rest of this year.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, okay. This is what would you consider your major life accomplishment? And you can be proud. Like you can be proud about this. What is your major life accomplishment? Like something you can beat your chest and be like, I did that. Like it worked.
As a fisherman, I would say the 2-time Elite Series champion. Like there's a relatively short list of that. Outside of that, I would, from a family perspective, obviously being a father is and a husband is huge, and I'm able to provide for them. So that's big.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Dude, I love it. Brian the Carpenter said his kids too. I was like, my man. Like, that's awesome.
DC, man.
Yeah, dude, he's the best, dude. I'm sorry. He's so awesome.
He and I are pretty good. We have a lot of respect for each other. We have some pretty deep conversations.
Good.
So
Yeah.
I've been friends with Mike forever, and so obviously I met Brian early on, and I mean they were friends even before I was friends with Mike. Obviously, so it's cool.
Yeah, I love that dude. He's a quality individual. He's super rad. He talks often. He's a good dude. Okay. Have you ever learned a lesson on the water that you've been able to implement in your life?
That's a tough one. I feel like you learn stuff every time you go on the water. I just love being on the water, and that's like that's my happy place, so to speak. And so I was talking with Kyle Patrick earlier. He's here at the event, and he said, "Man, I just got to go out and fish today." You know, he said, "Man, it's so much different fishing without the stress of practice or the tournament. Just going out and just fishing, like it's so much fun." And I'm like, "Yep." That was like it was so prophetic to hear him say that I could not agree more.
That was actually my next question is where does fishing fit into this for you? Like where does going out with no cameras and no stress? Like that was literally the next question on the list.
Yeah, I mean, just from from being filmed so much, it's nice to go out and dude, I don't care. People are like, "Oh, did you film that?" Like, no, I was just out enjoying life and enjoying trying to figure out what's going to take to make the next fish bite. Like that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Hell yeah. So when you travel, because you travel for fishing, this is your living, do you go straight from lake to lake and it is all business, or do you like stop and check out the world's biggest ball of yarn or like see what the town has to offer? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, world's biggest ball of yarn is kind of a joke, but like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, go out and check out the local, I don't know, like go to South Dakota and see the Mount Rushmore. Like, do you actually stop and do some stuff besides just go lake to lake?
I would say about 90% of the time I do not. 10% of the time I do. When we were actually multiple times going to California driving, I'd stop and look at the Grand Canyon. I mean, it's breathtaking. It
Absolutely.
takes 10 or 15 minutes to get off the interstate and go look at it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Breathtaking every time I try to stop there. But I mean, outside of that, most of the time I'm going to places I've been 6 or 8, 10 different times.
You got your diner, you got your bar, you got your hotel. You like, I know what I'm doing here.
Typically I don't do that.
Yeah. All right. What's the biggest mental or emotional block for you? Like what is right now?
I'd say that it's trying to please too many people, you know, with having the company, and the fishing and the sponsors. You got a lot of obligations on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis. There's a lot of obligations, and keeping everybody happy and it can be overwhelming. But I feel like that making sure that you have priorities and you please the people at the top of your priority list first, and that helps me, but it's still hard because I don't like disappointing people.
Yeah. Nobody does. But yeah.
Some people don't care. Unfortunately.
That's a different type of person.
themselves.
Yeah, that's a different type of person. That's not
Yep.
really the type of people I surround myself with or I'm interested in. Okay, so I got 2 more questions. Tell us one thing that no one knows about you as if it was like a window into who you are. I mean, you're married, so somebody knows everything about you, but you know,
Yeah.
for people who don't know you.
I'll tell you one funny thing that like people that know me well know is that in my truck I keep a pair of fingernail clippers like right there, and so I'll just be driving down the road, and I'm a fidgeter, and so then I'll get to fidgeting, and I'll be like, oh man, I gotta, and I'll take the nail clipper and just clip that one nail, put it right back, and then just keep driving. And I've had people ride with me, and they're like, holy shit, I've never seen anybody do that. I'm like, what? They're like, dude, you just had a hangnail, and then you just clipped it and put the thing back, and then just kept going, and your hangnail's fixed. I'm like, well, yeah, why wouldn't anybody do that? I don't know.
That's awesome. No, I keep Q-tips in my center console because I have a big thing about hearing. So I love it. All right. Last question. It's a 3-parter, and you're going to the green room and you're safe. What do you do for health, hydration, diet, and mental clarity?
So hydration, I drink a ton of water. I usually have at least one electrolyte drink a day. I work out when I'm home, when I can. So typically when I'm home, if I'm home 7 days, I'll work out 3 or 4.
Was that body armor you had on?
Yeah, that thing. That's more for like stimulating your nervous system. So there's all kind of cool things you can do with that. But that's one thing. And then for the mental health thing, the gym is like my mental health. I feel like that is something that I'm a big believer in, that helps all these different chemical levels in your brain. And I think that really helps me. And I feel like that sometimes when I'm on the road and don't get a chance to work out, that sometimes that's is because I don't get to work out as much, but at least I get to fish. So it's like,
dopamine and endorphins is dopamine and endorphins. But yeah, like if you get into that gym regulation where your body is actually regulated a certain amount and then you stop doing that, you are going to have that withdrawal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's that for sure, dude. Well, John, can you just shout yourself out, like where people can get a hold of you and what you got going on right now?
Yeah, I do the 4, I call it the 4 major social media channels. I do Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or now X, and YouTube. Those are the 4 I do. I don't do any of the other ones, but that's all I have time for and all I try to keep up with. So I enjoy that, and people can follow me there, and I'll try to entertain them and do all that stuff, and we'll go from there.
Well, I love it. Your YouTube is killing it too right now. The Missile Baits YouTube is awesome. When the way you did the history of the D-bomb and stuff like that, that is what YouTube is for. Like that storytelling situation is awesome. So
cool. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let you go, dude. And you can just sit in the green room. I'll catch up with you in a second. Thank you again, John Cruz, dude. That was awesome. I really appreciate you cutting some time out of your day to do this. I'll make this short and sweet. I'm headed to Tennessee I'll be in Tennessee now when this show drops. If I have any friends of Bill out there that are looking, that have any open areas for me to come hang out and check out, I'd really appreciate it. So if you guys could link up at me at Wolf of Walmart on Instagram, also the Whole Angler Podcast on Instagram, I'd really appreciate it. And other than that, I would like to thank everybody for listening. And again, thank you, John Cruz, for coming on. This was a shot in the dark. I just swung for the fences and he said yes. So I really appreciate him for doing that. Thank you, everybody. And with that, I'm just going to. Right.
What's up, everybody? Wolf of Walmart. We're back. We're back, baby, again.
Not a bad fish right there, guys.